Welcome to danjohnuniversity.com and our podcast. This is podcast number 39. We have a question from Ian. I just watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding again, so it's really hard for me not to say Ian. Are these band-based systems like X3 legit? Ian, I don't know. I use bands. I don't know why you'd need to do a system. Bands have their place. I like them for hip thrusts. I have the Brett Contreras hip thrust machine, and I find those much better than using barbells, personally. We use them for one of our workouts. We put 3 bands in a row, and you go slow tricep extensions or bicep curls. We do slow tricep extensions for about 15, go to the harder band, do medium speed for about 8, and then we go to heavy band and try to just get 4 in, and that'd be the same for bicep curls. We use mini bands for mini band walks, but I have never been a big believer in using bands of any kind as a standalone system. They're great for travel, and they're great for times like this. As I speak, we're still in the lockdown with coronavirus, but no, I can't speak on this program. I don't know what it is, but you ask if they're legit. I can only comment on bands. Your mileage may vary. I really can't speak to it, and I'm sorry. I tried looking into it, but it didn't really appeal to me. Okay, so thank you. I tried, couldn't help you. We have a question from Todd. My question is, what would you suggest for baseball, softball players to do at home on their own in order to develop and maintain arm strength? I would assume they have no equipment such as barbells or dumbbells at home. Some may, of course. For arm strength, I'm a thrower. Throwers throw. I'm not sure that there is a weightlifting exercise for the arms that would be nearly as good as working on your lower body. To throw the ball fast, you need to be a very complex machine that works very smoothly. If there's hills nearby, hill sprints. You can do, there's a whole bunch of body weight squat variations you could possibly do. You could drag sleds. I would think legs as much as you can now. I do work with Major League Baseball, a couple of teams. One of the things I would suggest, now this is, I don't want to tell you who does it, but one of the things a lot of Major League teams will do, especially with their pitchers, is they'll do a lot of throwing with their left hand. And I found that to be one of the most, if a right-handed pitcher throws with their left hand, a lefty throws with their right hand. And another thing a lot of the pitchers are now doing, I actually have the whole set of balls here in my house. I use them for coaching javelin, but you could probably get away with this with just the actual balls of the game, is you throw the ball this way. Instead of throwing the ball like this, like I'm throwing at you, you take the ball and you whip it behind to do some counter work. If they have no equipment at all, I cannot recommend pull-ups and hill sprints enough. With javelin throwers, we found that doing pull-ups really was helpful. Pull-ups and monkey bars, very helpful for their I want to say injury prevention, but it seemed to also help with performance. Humans, we have binocular eyes, we have opposable thumbs, and that's what brachiating animals do. Brachiation is monkey bars, okay? And any kind of monkey bar, pull-up, any of that family, rope climbing I would think would be a very valuable thing. Again, this is equipment specific, but it's just not that difficult to find places to do pull-ups. And don't forget, go to danjohnuniversity.com, go to the workout generator and type in body weight only training and see what it comes up with. I think you'll be surprised at the number of things you can still do with just body weight or minimal loads. My friend Ann, during this time, is having all of her clients hold weight, and it doesn't really matter how much weight you hold around your waist, but you're probably looking at 30 to 50 pounds. I'm sure you can find that around the house in something. Here in Utah, we have these things called rocks. And you hold it around your waist, and you do goblet squats. This would be more of the bear hug squat, which is a great exercise. and then you put one leg up behind you on a couch or chair or bench, and you do the Bulgarian split squats with load here. I hope you got my emphasis though. Legs, legs, legs. For throwing drills, think more opposite hand, what we call goofy hand when I coach track and field, and try some of that backward ball throwing. Todd, it's a tough question. Equipmentless training really requires the athlete to think, and boy, do I sound like a grump right now, but a lot of the athletes of the generation I'm working with now haven't had to think for themselves very often in their career. They've had mom and dad helicoptering around them all the time. They've had personal trainers since they were 9. They've been in organized sports since they were 8. They never actually just go out and have some fun. Like if you watch the movie Sandlot, that's me. That's what I grew up with. And we learned to think for ourselves a little bit. So what you're going to have to do, in a sense, is encourage the athlete to think for themselves. And that can be scary for the first few times. All right? Thank you, Todd. It's a good question. We got a really interesting question from Wade, something that I'm not an expert at, but I think I have some insights about because of the amount of time I've been around this sport. Wade asks, should endurance athletes, Nordic ski racer here, stick with lower rep workouts to build strength, or should they periodize throughout the year as we do with our other training? Current trends seem to be keeping the reps low and focusing on strength and power. And then he says something interesting. This is what I want to talk about. However, earlier in my career, we did lots of high rep stuff for a month, then medium reps for a month, then low reps. I can't really tell that one way is more effective than the other, though the high rep workouts were pretty dull. Your thoughts and recommendations? Well, first off, living in Utah, I've known a lot of national level cross-country skiers. Moreover, one of the turning points in my career was meeting Bill Koch at a workshop here in Salt Lake City where, and I've said this in many of my workshops, I think I was the only person in the audience who could hear him. So he invented the skating style, and right after that, a book came out on conditioning for skating, cross-country skating, and it was written by a Norwegian and an American. And I know I have it in the house somewhere. I looked, but my collection of books is pretty vast, and sometimes it's just hard for me to find some of the older books. They followed more, Wade, what you were talking about. They had a sandbag workout where the reps were, for example, on split lunges, I think they call them, but we now call them Bulgarian split squats. That's one leg up on a bench and the other leg, and you do lunges basically. Squats with the weight on the lower back, squats with the weight here, the sandbag here, rows, all kinds of things. And the rep range was 50 to 100 reps of each exercise, and you do that several times. 50 to 100 reps, and the argument was it would build muscular endurance. I've never been sure that's true. Since sports is so specific, doing lots and lots of reps in a position might actually kind of lead you more down the injury road rather than the mastery road. Maffetone discusses this. Many others talk about this too. What I found interesting is that you said today they're keeping the reps low and you just try to get as strong as you can. Wade, from my experience and my limited understanding of cross-country skiing and cross-country ski skating, I would say that you'd want to get as strong as you can, and you're going to get your reps out there. You're going to get your reps. I know you guys now, a lot of use rollerblades a lot more. I had one of the first pairs of rollerblades in Utah. I know you guys do a lot more, racing, training on snow now. It used to be back in the day, you guys would be basically becoming triathletes, thousands of miles on the bicycle, lots and lots of time running. Both have value, but not nearly as much value as doing the actual sport. So yeah, I would suggest something more along the lines of easy strength. Get yourself as strong as you can, as fast as you can. Easy strength workouts last 13, 14, 15 minutes and you're done. Bye-bye. Go do your stuff. When I looked at that book for the first time and that great article in Scholastic Coach, when it come out right after Eric Heiden won the 5 gold medals, his coach had a thing with rubber band training, because of the lack of ice time they had. And the volume was staggering in everything they did. One small thing, Eric Heiden, I have my surgeries at his orthopedic institute over here called Heiden Orthopedic. And I've had a chance to talk to him. And also he has he's written a book and he signed the copy for me. And like the other great skater, Dan, his name dropped out. I'm sorry. It's not important. Eric Heiden never felt that lower back problem that all speed skaters feel. He goes, that never bothered me at all. I never had it. At the top end, people are mutants at the top end. Those numbers, your VO2 max numbers that come out of those great cross-country skiers, you can train it, but you can't train it that high. I always tell people, being an elite athlete is like being born 7'4", and it's hard to coach someone from this tall to this tall. So I would say keep the reps low, keeps the sets low, and constantly try to build the load up in the safest few exercises you can find. I would say, a vertical press, a vertical pull, a deadlift variation from at least 1 inch below the knees or 1 inch above the knees, the ab wheel, and then loaded carry. Keep it that simple and get all your conditioning done on the field of play. I hope that helps, Wade. Mario asks a question that I'm getting all the time right now because of the coronavirus and people being inside. How often should I do your infamous 10K, 10,000 swing kettlebell idea, the 10,000 swing challenge? I've done it 4 times in a year. That's way too much. I was talking to Pat Flynn about this just today. And basically there's only 2 times of the year that I think work well. Hold on. When you're on lockdown quarantine, you got 1 kettlebell, it's perfect then too. If you find yourself in some kind of prison, all you got is 1 kettlebell, then do it then. But most of the time, outside of those situations, which are fairly rare, I use the word Lent with Pat today because that late winter, early spring period, when you're like today in Utah, we had really nice weather for a few days and it's going to snow in a couple hours. So this is a good time of year. It's warm enough that you're not going to have to deal with the cold on your lower back and hamstrings. You can lock up doing the 10,000 swing challenge. That's a lot of stress on your hinge movement. Stress. It's a lot of repetitions on your hinge movement. And if you have a few reps go wrong, you could possibly cramp up somewhere. And I don't cramp up very much in the summer. Oddly, I cramp up a lot in the winter because of the cold here in Utah. So think about that late winter, early spring period when it's not too hot, so that all you basically do is sweat and the bells get so slick, and it's not too cold that you lock up. Another good time, since it is such a disciplined program, is early fall. That's back to school time. That's when American football starts. It seems to be, for most people, a good time to reestablish a kind of do this program. It's weird. Most people want to do New Year's resolutions, but I've always thought it was smarter to have a back to school resolution when you start fresh again and the world seems to be a little bit more, structured and rigid. So those would be the 2 times I'd recommend. 2 times a year. Let's think about it this way, Mario. This year, do it 2 times. Next year, do it 1 time. The following year, do it 2 times. I think something like that would be pretty beneficial. I would not recommend, like some people say, they're going to do this 4 or 5 or 6 times in a year. There's lots of other things you can do in your training besides this little challenge. The interesting thing you'll find is the second, third, and clearly by the fourth time you do it, you'll find that there has been some good things carry over from the past experiences. For me, the thing I noticed was how, I want to say the word greased, how lubricated my swing technique had become. I had become I always try to tell people at workshops, it's like you have a drum at your butt and you have a drum at the top at the plank, and you want to go boom, 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 boom. When I'm at 35,000 swings for the year just in these challenges, my swing is boom, 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 boom. It's just, it is rhythmic, it's smooth. I get out of my own way. My hip flexors relax. My hamstrings literally grow, as people have noticed. My plank is better. I throw the bell down better. I snap it back better. You'll notice if you do it twice in 1 year and then come back to it, you'll find within a workout or two your technique is locked back in at a really high level. So the more times you do it, the more and more efficient you get and the better you get at it. Mario, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, sure. Do it now, do it again, and then ease off for about a year and do it again. All right, thank you. Jonathan asked a question that I can only kind of point him in some directions. You have mentioned a few times that homemade equipment is really enjoyable. Yeah, there's two pieces I'm going to talk about, but there's more. For someone looking to make some stuff just for fun in his lockdown and to try a few different things, what are your top recommendations and education resources for making your own kit? Well, the fact that he said kit makes me think he's probably from England or Ireland. My favorite one is the sawhorse. I hope that is the same everywhere, but I found this at this store, adjustable sawhorses, and they were relatively inexpensive. And what was nice is they're for sawing wood, but what I also picked up, of course, is that they were really good for raising and lowering. The one I got was just high enough for me to deadlift like it was in a rack. It might have been, for some of you, it might be too high. I'm not bragging about being so tall, but it was right just barely over my knees. And then I could also do dead stop front squats in basically the same position too. And I could raise it up a little bit, and it was nice for an exercise like shrugs. So sawhorses can be a poor man's squat rack, a very, very, very poor man's squat rack. The next piece, and you can look up this word, Hungarian core blaster. It's a word I invented a long time ago at the forum at davedraper.com in the Dan John Q&A. If you go there, lots of people have explanations about how they put it together. Basically, it's a poor man's kettlebell. Most people say it costs between $9 and $10. And the only thing I would recommend, and since you use metal weights, metal plates, weightlifting plates on it. If you're like, I think you're from Europe, you're not going to want to go over 10 kilo plates, Americans 25 pounds, because as the plates get wider, you have to push your knees out wider and wider. Those are my two favorites, but that doesn't mean you have to stop there. I've had people share with me weightlifting blocks that they made. So you take 2x4s. I think that translates into Europe. And so you have one, you nail together two, you nail together three, and you do various lifts from there. You hook a chain in there, and you don't need, by the way, you don't need very much weight. And all you do is you just pick them up. Pretty simple thing. Homemade seems to really tie in well with grip training. You can go even farther. Here in the United States, and I think they're worldwide, there's a thing called PAR course, P-A-R courses. My junior college Skyline had one of the first in the world, but you can also put together, like make your own balance beam. You don't have to work very hard. You can just put a board on the ground and make that. Or you can raise it up with a couple of bricks. If you have a couple of board and a couple more bricks, you can make a zigzag pattern, and that would be kind of fun to do. all kinds of things. The CrossFit people have a parallettes thing they make out of PVC pipe. I have that in my gym here, which I find really to be a nice little training device. It's as far as your mind can go. Oh, one other thing I do at my home gym is I go over and I buy bags of playground sand. They're about 50 pounds a piece, and then I put those in a duffel bag. And the one we have downstairs right now, I think we only have 2. There might be 3. I just know it's heavier than it should be. Bags of this playground sand, and you put it in a bag and you bear hug carry it. You can do squats with it. You can put it over your shoulders and walk around with it. I think it's one of the best tools you can use for training. And the reason I use playground sand is if the sand ever breaks, I know that I can use it. It's a bit cleaner, so I know I can put it in my my garden. And by the way, sandbags break. It's not if they're going to break, it's when. So I would much rather have, just use the sand and put it in my garden, or use it as filler. There's a shallow area in your lawn somewhere. In a couple of years, and then you can put topsoil on it, or just ignore it like I do, because in a few years it's just going to be grassed over also. I've had people say, "Oh, use washers or use metal ball bearings and stuff," but if that bag breaks, what are you going to do with, thousands of ball bearings or thousands of washers? I don't know. So those are the best ones. So for me, the ones I like best: the sawhorses, the Hungarian core blaster, and the carrying bag. And then from there, just let your imagination run wild. One last thing, Jonathan. I had a friend, he's no longer with us, Brian Oldfield, former world record in the shot. And I used to tell people, and I know it's true, if I took him to a home improvement place, he would look around and he would find something that he would be able to, that day, train somebody in the shot put with. It didn't matter if it was a PVC pipe or a bucket, or he would figure out a way that to use that thing to help people throw the shot put farther. So that's what your imagination has to be like. Go to the home place, and while you're getting the bags of sand and the this and that, just let your imagination run wild and see what you can come up with. I guarantee, Jonathan, you're going to invent something that is going to be far better than anything else I tell you. And I almost forgot about it. Get a huge PVC pipe and make a slosh pipe. Look up Dan John slosh pipe, and you'll get all the information you need online. Thanks, Jonathan. That's a fun question. We have a question from Daniel. That's always a nice person to ask questions. I am an awful question writer. All right? Well, I'm an awful question answer. A few weeks ago, I tried to ask for a kettlebell version of Easy Strength, and instead I wrote Strength Made Simple, which of course does not exist. Oh, yeah. Dan was really kind to give me a kettlebell version of Mass Made Simple program with a ton of pressing, as he said. I tried it once. Honestly, too much volume for a 42-year-old not looking to eat a ton or put on mass. Well, yes, okay. It's my fault, but that's what you asked for. My main goal as far as lifting right now is clean and pressing heavier kettlebells, both one-arm and two-arm clean and presses. This is why I wondered about a kettlebell Easy Strength. The pressing part seems straightforward. I was just wondering about the rest. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly do, you're going to be an experiment of one, but why don't we do something like this? Start off with 3 sets of 3 and stick with that. Double kettlebell clean and double kettlebell press. So clean, press, clean, press, clean, press, put the bell down. 3 sets of 3. Next is goblet squat. If it's going to do goblet squats, I want 1 set of 10. If you're doing double kettlebell front squats, then use the rule of 10, either 5 sets of 2, 3 sets of 3, 2 sets of 5. Okay? Okay, so clean and press, clean and press, clean and press. Double kettlebell front squats. Then single arm clean and press, but this time go clean, press, 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 clean, press, press, press. Never do more. Stick with 2 sets of 5 on that. Just 2 sets of 5 with that, okay? Fourth exercise, do a pull-up. And then the fifth exercise, either the ab wheel, farmer walk, or Turkish get-ups if you know how to do them. But don't go heavy on Turkish get-ups. And I like the idea of ab wheel and or farmer walk. Alternate that by day. And get back to me, okay? Do that for 2 weeks, and then I need some feedback, okay? That'll help me a lot. And let's hope this one works, okay? Thank you. Well, thanks again, folks. I hope you learned something. Remember, if you have questions, email them to podcast@danjohnuniversity.com, and I'll really try to answer every question that comes in. Thanks so much.